Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Dallas County, and I'm here with who am I here with again?
Hi, I'm you. It's me.
Yes, and she will be played by an A. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so
One time I'll get myself all prettified for you, beautiful audience. But today is not that day.
okay, so what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the Black Stickman phenomenon that's been going about.
Yeah, so what do you know about the Black Stick Man phenomenon?
To be honest, I didn't know very much about that. I had to actually look this one up because obviously it's more recent and something not as familiar to me happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's pretty recent. Like it started back in May, like the 2003, when people started getting these sightings reported. I have like a collection of encounters from various people from various places from different times. So we're gonna go over them today. So we're gonna. The first one comes from a guy who's only known as Simon, and it was posted on the forum for 14 times. And it was supposed to be an encounter he had with one of these stick men in England back in 1978. So let's
Hmm.
hear what he has to say. So he says a group of about 10 of us were sitting chatting on the loose valley at about midnight. After about 45 minutes, Will leapt to his feet, slapping his head, saying that there was a bee in his hair. He looked absolutely terrified. Both Dorothy and I saw the outline of a tall, thin figure wearing a hat dancing behind him. Will said later it was as if a terrifically loud buzzing was coming up through the top of his head. However, only Rachel heard any buzzing. So we partially satisfied ourselves that it must have been a bee's nest, and so we moved a little distance away. As we moved away, Dorothy and I saw a ring outlined in the grass, which enclosed where we had been sitting. Eventually, it started raining, so we headed for Rachel's house. As we left, I turned around and saw the same thin black figure walk across the opening between the trees where he had been sitting. Well, we have been sitting. So that's the first encounter that we have here.
Hmm.
Any
Well, that
thoughts?
definitely sounds interesting.
So, like, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, at the moment, it's just, the first one. It sounds like you have another one to say. Let me give my opinion after the second one.
Okay, so the next one also takes place in England, but this time it takes place 10 years later in 1982. Um, I say 10 years later, I meant 3 years later. I meant like the next decade. In 1982, uh, where it came from a comment in a Listverse article. So in 1982, this is the encounter talking. When I was a student nurse at Warley Hospital, Brentwood in Essex, England, I encountered a stick person in the grounds of the hospital as I was walking home one night. It looped across the roadway, having been seemingly pressed up against a wall. It stopped when it saw me and raised its arms in fright and quickly walked off into the undergrowth. It was very tall, very thin, extremely long arms and legs, and a very small oval head. Totally black, no obvious clothing. I saw no face even though it emerged very near a street lamp and so was well illuminated. I was terrified to this day and no one believes me. So that's the second encounter that we have here.
Hmm. Well, it sounds like the first one was intentional. The second one was not. from
Mm.
at least the understandings and the wording that the folks have put in. Like the first one actually sounds like they were chosen by the sick person to come about or try to bring them into their world. Whereas the second one is like, how you see a cat and they look at you and you look at it and you're like, ah, and then they run away.
Yeah.
That's how the second one feels more like they're just passing through our dimension and realize they're seen, and it's like, oh crap, run away.
Yeah, like a good chunk of encounters involves the witnesses saying that these beings would just be all like, "What?" and then just like run away, like they weren't
Yeah,
intending to
which
be seen. Yeah.
which doesn't add up to the first encounter you said, which it happened in front of a really big group and didn't necessarily run away. Whereas
Yeah.
everything else looks like they're just passing through our dimension to get somewhere else.
You're right. And this guy, also the first one, he was the figure was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
How
Does
does
any
that?
of the other accounts have like dancing or anything like that?
I don't know. How do you think the Stickman dances?
um, I think it'll probably be closer to robot size, and I don't think it could possibly, unless it has the flexibility to curve its arms.
I think they do. I think they have joints. Uh, but we'll look into like some other ones. Maybe there's some more cases of dancing. And this one actually was a reminiscence of a time when this person was a kid. Uh, this one was posted on Reddit. There's no year and there's no location of where this was. So this is what this guy has to say. So when I got out of bed and opened the door, about 5 feet away from me, in the hallway was a tall, black, slender figure. It was very
Hmm.
thin, all black, no facial feature, a circled head. The arms and legs were really thin, and the fingers looked sharp. It made no sound and was gliding as it walked. The way it walked was the most scariest part for me. I only saw it for 2 seconds, then slammed the door and started wailing and crying. Minutes pass until my mom shows up to the door and calms me down. I don't remember mentioning it to her, so she just thought it was a bad dream. She then got a roll of blankets, put them on the hallway floor for us to sleep together. So my feet ended up being scratched very badly. It couldn't have been from my mom's nails, and I remember it left a burning sensation. I'm 18 now, and it's one of my earliest memories I had. Oh, and this takes place in Connecticut.
Hmm. So that one has a little bit more of a kind of a one of those slightly dangerous seeing you types.
Mm,
Uh, because I have a I listened to on my YouTube this channel that talks about the SCP Foundation
yeah,
and keeping the Nolanies.
yeah.
And that one almost sounds like the 3D one, except for you don't have the 3D glasses, like how the way it walks and it scratches, except for in that anomaly, no one lives. And once you see them,
Right. So, do you think these things want to do us harm?
oh, so far it seems to be two have well, the first one is a possible harming or pulling into another dimension, whereas the second one was like an oops, you see me here. And this one is a you see me here, I may play around so that you remember that I existed.
Okay. So, let's move on to the next one, which comes from a person who calls herself Amalthea, which comes from both Reddit and the site True Ghost Stories archive. So this is supposed to take place in California between 1997 and 2004. So this is what she has to say. When I was growing up, I had a best friend who lived down the street. We lived in a quiet small town where her dad was always working. I would walk to her house every day after school, and we would often take walks, walk to the liquor store to buy candy, etc. I would often see a stick man following us, peeking out from behind her couch, etc. He was tall, black, and changed sizes. Sometimes the size of a small cat, other times taller than a normal human sized man. I felt very scared of him and felt he was malicious at best, perhaps evil. I finally got the courage to tell my best friend, and she admitted to seeing him too. I always got the feeling he was in the same one every time, not a different stick man. One time he appeared in the shape of a stick figure horse, like a like a bad child's drawing. I always believed him to be somehow following me and watching me. Until when my best friend passed away suddenly in her senior year of high school, she had a generic heart condition that nobody, including herself, had known about. So I've never seen what we called Stickman ever since. I believe now perhaps he was some form of grim reaper awaiting his time to take my friend. I don't know if that's really the case, but it seems odd. The sightings of him disappeared after she passed. I never saw who we dubbed Stickman again. I'm researching him now, and now that I am in my late 20s, because I recently confided in my husband about these weird experiences. Alright, so what do you think about that one?
So that one definitely goes more towards the malicious intent. But I think it still sticks in the thing of you see me and I'm going to mess with you category. For
Mm-hmm.
me at least. I mean, it's a possibility that it could have been a version of a Grim Reaper and Christopher Ram, but for scientific, they had an explanation why she died so suddenly. So it ends up being one of those kind of coincidences,
Mm-hmm.
more so than, and then not seeing the stick figure at all afterwards. But my big thing is, if both of y'all could see it, and she was already taken, then shouldn't you also have been taken at some point too for also seeing it?
Mm-hmm. Do do you think that so why did this thing just like stop showing up after her friend died?
Maybe it was initially after the friend and not after them. They just happened to be there at the same time with the friend
Yeah.
since they were best friends at the time.
Mm-hmm. So now we're kind of like moving. Maybe these beings do want to do us harm. Is that right?
It's looking like it's fitting in that category that it has ill intent towards us.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
So
more like,
yeah.
I think for right now, I guess more of a warning sign if you see the Black Stickman figure. Possibly be cautious about your surroundings and what happened.
Mm-hmm. So okay. So here's another one that actually took place. It doesn't say like a year or a location for this one either. But this one was actually reminiscing of an encounter she had as a child as well. But this time, she also explained that her parents also saw witness to this being. So this is her story on that. So I noticed something moving very quickly in front of the car that we're driving. So here's where it gets difficult to describe. What appeared to be two black stick-like legs as if the bottom half of a stick man ran quickly past the car. Everything in that moment seemed to slow down, and I entirely lost my train of thought. The area around the legs even almost seemed static like and blurry. Neither my mom or dad said anything immediately, so I shrugged it off as looking out the night at a moving road for too long. But as I started my sentence again, my mom interrupted me. What was that? She genuinely sounded terrified, and I knew immediately she was talking about what she was talking about. I basically screamed back, "The stick man," and my mom began panicking. My dad seemed very confused and pulled over, and we looked around the area where we saw it run. My mom said that she saw an entire stick man run from the side of the road to another. Tall, lanky, almost 2D, just like a kid's drawing. When she calmed down, she started describing everything about what she saw, including how it walked. This was only about half a mile from their house, so we drove back. My dad, still in a state of confusion, and my mom and I nearly shaking. Ultimately, we all came to the conclusion that everything in that moment was very hazy, as if time slowed down and we were seeing into another dimension. Question mark. Why my mom and I saw it and my dad didn't, I still have no idea. Both of my parents are religious people and typically try to debunk stuff like this, but they both agree that there was no way what we saw wasn't otherworldly. We began searching and found that we weren't the only people to ever see the stick man. When my mom read one post about the way it moved, I saw her heart drop. The post said something about claims of the thing galloping, which was exactly how she had described it, right after it happened. Normally, I'm very interested in stuff like this, but I was so terrified I just wanted to forget it happened. For some reason, something about the situation felt menacing. And that was this person's sighting.
Well, that one ends up going into that falls in between the whole you've been chosen and kind of running away.
Mm.
It's one of those like car accidents sometimes happen,
Mm-hmm.
and you think it's a deer, but because our minds can't comprehend some of the things that are supernatural, that you want to make sure that it's something as real as a deer. Yes, that's what caused the accident, not a stickman figure galloping towards us
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, but it didn't seem like any of them got hurt.
Yeah,
Just
nobody got
the
hurt.
realization, huh?
Yeah, nobody got hurt.
Yeah, it's a possibility that like if they had, it's one of those things where it could be good or bad, where like an angel comes and gets you off the road, and you're like, what the heck? And then you go about 15 miles up, and there's this huge wreck, and you saw that van like way back before you got pushed off the road, and you think, man, if we had just kept straight and not seen or got pushed off the road, we would have been part of this wreck.
Yeah.
But malicious, there's a possibility if they had stopped, or no, if they had stayed straight and not stopped to the side of the road, there could have been something else bad waiting up ahead. But because they stopped, it couldn't happen. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so you think that the stick figure wanted to be seen so they would stop and investigate in order to forego some kind of tragic event and later down in the road?
It's a possibility, or it could be the opposite. It wanted to be seen and possibly pull them over so something else worse could happen.
Maybe. Well, they did kind of stop and they did kind of look around and nothing really happened. Um, so. Oh, also, this is the first time we actually get mentioned a possibility of these things being interdimensional.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you like subscribed to the theory that these things are from a different dimension?
Now that I will say I would subscribe to, that they're possibly from another dimension,
Okay.
and they could possibly have both good and evil beings. Ones that just pass through and, doing their own thing and don't want to really mess with humans, and others that problem children in their society that want to cause harm to the children that think they see them.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it could be also like a type of alien or some kind of type of new species that we haven't seen?
No, I personally wouldn't put it into the alien situation. I would more so being in the another dimensional or another type of timeline kind of thing, like
Okay.
that shifts between when we get closer.
Mm-hmm. So like,
That's where I would put it.
so you're saying like it's like in a different dimension where humans evolved in a way that we look like stick figures?
Either evolved or de-evolved,
Maybe. Uh,
or because there's the whole mirror dimension idea. It could be a dimension that we are the rock and we are seen as full human, and they live in a six-figure society.
right. Well,
And
we,
so
yeah.
when they see us, we're weird to them, and they do things to either protect themselves, but on our end, it feels malicious.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, that does like kind of also support the idea that that one lady, that one girl said that she saw a stick figure horse that one time.
Yeah, like a
So
badly drawn stick figure horse with a stick figure on top. I
right,
mean, in, in museums and places, and even in our history books, when we go to cave drawings of the first man, most of them are almost stick figures.
right.
There's a few that might be a little bit better, but they're all stick figures. It's no telling in a different dimension, humans could possibly be not stick figures, and we're ones that's drawn onto their universe, and they're trying to figure out, are we real or not?
Mm. Well, let's go into like this other one that actually did happen very recently. That took place in southeastern London back in 2010. So this happened 11 years ago. So fairly recently compared to the other ones. So this is what this guy said. It was an anonymous poster, so we don't have a name. And it was this is from a forum on 14 Times. So this is what he has to say. So the word we coined later to describe its movement was lolloping, a kind of up down bouncy walk. It took a
Hmm.
few seconds for the two of us to realize that this was no human being. I asked my friend, "See that man?" "Yes," was the reply. "It's not a man, though, is it?" I found myself asking. "No," said my friend, sounding scared. Oh, okay, I'm just gotta sound scared. "No," said my friend, sounding scared. It wasn't. The creature was entirely black like a cardboard cutout, flat and one dimensional. It had no features at all, and it had arms that hung down to its knees. It seemed to be ignoring us. Then it seemed to realize we could see it and began to lollop faster towards us. We ran to our front door and hid in the hallway, as quiet and unmoving as possible. When we saw the thing, we felt it was a male, approach the front door and appeared to look through the glass from the way its head moved up and down and around. It then turned away. We didn't sleep for some time after that, discussing what we saw. It was shaped like many descriptions of greys, but both myself and my friends came away with the impression that what we saw was either from this world was either from of this world or from another parallel dimension. To all intents and purposes, it appeared to be sauntering along the road, enjoying the walk before it became shocked to see us, staring at it in horror. We instinctively felt this was not a creature to try and communicate with. This was not something that that it was good to be near. We might have been wrong, but neither myself nor my friend would ever like to see this creature or others like it again. Though I'd love to get some ideas on what it was. So that's what it was. That's another sighting.
Yeah, that's and it they saw it in the window. That's even more interesting, to be honest,
Mm.
because all the other ones like didn't necessarily fully come after them.
Oh yeah,
So,
this is like the only time
and
where, well, not the only time, but this is the one that out of the group that we've seen so far, this is the only one that seemed to approach the witnesses instead of just running away.
yeah,
Do you think that maybe this thing wanted to be their friend, or maybe it wanted to hurt them?
uh, that's a 50-50. It could have. I mean, to be honest, like I said, it could think that we are the danger, but then we run away, and maybe they wanted to get a closer look at us. It's a, it's the thing is like as the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat.
Mm-hmm. Now these guys are saying that they had like their instincts are telling them that this you shouldn't go really near this thing. So in this case, do you think that maybe listening to your instincts would probably be a good idea?
Yeah, I think most of us should definitely listen to our instincts most of the time. There's a few times that our instincts may be wrong, but we were born with the instincts for a reason. And if your instincts say run, by golly, you don't want to find out what might happen if you don't run.
Mm-hmm. So let's go into the next one, which was let's see. This one was actually posted. There's no location, and it was posted on Reddit. But this one is actually a very more recent sighting that actually happened in 2015, so 6 years ago.
Hmm.
So okay, so this is what this person has to say. So this alley is pitch dark and pretty cold too. The only lights were all the way down at the end of the alley with some other lights as well. So we halfway down this alley. I think he meant to say we walked halfway down this alley. So then I started getting a weird feeling like I was being watched. But it was a different feeling because it's my instincts telling me I was for real being watched. But I thought I was being paranoid. So we make our way down to the alley into the light. So then I stopped and turned around while my friends were looking at me. Right at that moment, that's when I saw it. Just coming now. Coming into the light, a very tall, 8 or 9 feet, very dark and very, very skinny, like, well, a stick figure, and it was walking at us. I couldn't believe it at all. One number saying, what the f? When he was saying that, I ran as fast as I can. My friends ran behind me as well, thank goodness. We all make it out of the alley, so I turn around for the last time. It was where I first saw it standing, and there's no way because I ran really, really fast, and nobody can be that fast at all. And the funny or worst thing was that it was still walking at us. We ran
Hmm.
all the way home right after that, and we talked about it in group chat, not knowing what we saw at all. So that was the last one. Well, the last. That's the end of that one.
Yeah, that one's an interesting story of itself. Um, Again, your instinct's telling you to run, and it's still following you, almost keeping up. Like it doesn't have to. abide by our laws of physics? No,
Maybe.
that's not right.
Do you think it could?
No, I think
You think that it could teleport? Is that what you're getting at?
maybe not necessarily teleport, but it doesn't have to walk like normal. Like its time frame of walking isn't the same as our time frame of walking.
Yeah.
So, but to us, it could possibly look like it's teleporting, like it's still behind us, where it's only taking 3 steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like also like these things don't seem to like walk the way we walk. They seem to gallop or like bob
Yeah.
based on what these people are saying. Uh so uh let's see what else we got. So this is another one that came from the Rocky Mountains and it happened like around 2 a.m. There's no year to it. So let's see what this guy has to say. So after a buddy and I finishing lowering a trap into the water, the atmosphere around us got real heavy. It felt like it was humid but without the presence of moisture in the air. On top of that, our muscles suddenly felt real weak as if we had just run a few miles with weights strapped upon our back. So my visions and the vision of my friends went blurry for a moment or two. When it all cleared up, we all noticed that something was not right. Off in the distance, no more than 20 yards away from us, was a tall, slender, pitch black figure. It looked to be about 10 feet tall, and its limbs were real skinny looking. It just stood there for a moment, its limbs just moving around real slow, like as it looked at us. The creature had a head but no real torso. Its body was as thick as its arms were, and its legs and it had a real skinny looking head with two bright white eyes. It just stared at us for the longest time. I didn't even make a noise. After a moment or so, the thing walked off to the side, and as it got further away from us, it got easier to breathe, and we were able to move once more. Naturally, we packed our stuff and hightailed it back home. To this day, we don't speak of what had happened, and we never did go back for our traps. So, that's that one.
That one's interesting. That one brings in the elements of uh, it's messing with our reality, making the atmosphere better for it than us.
Mm. So so this thing was in this story. It was just staring at them. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think that means?
And that was another thing. It actually said it had eyes
Oh yeah,
in that one.
yeah. So this one actually had eyes as opposed to the other ones that where they just said it just had like a black face or a black circle
Mm-hmm.
head. So that's another detail. So let's see what else we got. We got this. Okay, so this is the final one that we have, and this one was posted on the True Ghost Stories archive. So this is what this person says. So I honestly thought I was crazy. I'm 33, level-headed, and while I don't rule anything else, I generally don't think much of the paranormal. The other night, morning maybe, I keep odd hours. I went outside for a smoke. My lawn was has a low retaining wall about bench height and a long sloping road down the creek, noted for its malfunctioning streetlights. I saw something walking down from the middle of the road. I have a neighbor who walks at all hours, day or night. I didn't think much of it. As it got closer, it looked like a pencil drawn picture of a man done by a kid. It wasn't black, so much as it was nebulous, like a static on a TV channel. So gray and black moving in a blur in the shape of the sign that lets you know which door to go in for like bathrooms and such. The street lights flickered on and it stopped, looked around, or as I assumed, as much as all I saw was its head move, and saw me. As soon as it did, it took off down the road faster than my eyes could follow. I didn't tell anyone for a few days. Then did the Promise You Won't Think I'm Crazy with my girlfriend. She said that she have heard of similar stories and asked if I Googled it. I did, and here I am. At least if I'm crazy, I'll have company. So that's that one.
Hmm. It's another time where it kind of blinks, moves faster than we can perceive.
Mm-hmm.
And the second time it's been mentioned of the black and white scale or black and gray scale.
Yeah. It's also another time where the being just runs away after being
Yeah.
spotted, after noticing that it was spotted. So, and also it says that this thing kind of like moved faster than her eyes can capture. Do you think it might
Mm-hmm.
have like some kind of super speed?
It's a it's a possibility.
Yeah. So, okay, so after hearing all of these stories, final answer, what do you think the stick man is?
Huh. Let's see. With this amount of evidence, this is kind of what my conclusion is. It's a being from another dimension
Mhm.
that's a possibility to be. All of them are stick figure esque. Some are dangerous, not all of them are. So I would still be cautious if I saw it, but I would definitely listen to any intentions that my body tells me. Like if it says run, then I'm probably going to run if I see it, because it just means that it's possibly not in a that it's probably in a more malicious mood. Then if it runs away, then I'm safe. So that's my conclusion. Still could use more evidence, but it's a more recent thing and hasn't been out as long as some of the other items.
Yeah, well, since this thing is a very new recent thing, people are gonna be like, "Whoa, hey, we have like phones with cameras and stuff. How come people haven't like videographed it?" Well, they have. It has been caught on video. So we're gonna watch one of them today. So there's some that look more convincing than others, but this is the probably the most convincing one of what the stickman is caught on video. Are you ready to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. You probably have seen it already, but let's see it again. Okay. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen this before?
Nah.
Okay, let's see it. Okay. So that was that. All right. So, what did we just watch for the people listening in the audio only version?
Well, looks like, well, in all intents and purposes, a black stick figure scaling down a building. And when it needs a foothold, its limbs grow to get to the foothold.
Yeah, so
It,
what do you make of that?
I find that very interesting, and it goes into that theory of it's just passing through,
Mm,
because really it came down from the top and just moved past. And even if you continue watching, you see it through the lights of the windows on the right side in the more dark. It passed by to go past those windows and
mm,
then into complete darkness before the video ends.
right. So, do you think that this video could be faked?
I mean, with the way our technology it is quite a possibility, and that takes a lot of time and effort to do. So it's a possibility, but you have to take a lot of skills and a lot of hours to put that.
Mm-hmm.
And the video doesn't show necessarily any timestamps in it. So that's one reason why it could get debunked, that someone could have done it itself,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean no timestamp in the video, so you can't really fully say it happened within those like 2 minutes that the video was made.
Mm.
Whereas anyone could compute, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you made this really cool figure. I have a YouTube channel that I watch where it's uh animators versus something else, and he does a lot of stick figure fighting scenes
Yeah. That's
with
a
different stick figures.
yeah. That's animation versus animator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
So I mean, it is possible for someone to do it, but it's like it takes a lot of time frame to get that movement, because you don't want them to move like normal and with the growing of the limbs. So it's a possibility to be either way. To
mm.
be honest, the movement was a little bit, at least on the stick figure part, a little jerky, as if, hey, it's something not of this world, but it's using our world literally to get somewhere else.
Mm. But like in animator versus animation, that one's very obviously a drawing being animated. Uh,
Oh yeah, and the stick figures don't like have their limbs grow. There is no speaking involved per se, and
mm-hmm.
there's so many other different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, they're good and bad stick figures. Again, going with that theory that in the stick figure society, there are good and bad.
Mm-hmm. So you're thinking that they're using this dimension that we're in as just like a bridge to another place where they're ultimately going.
Yes,
Okay.
I will say that most of them probably just use us as a bridge to get somewhere else.
Mm.
Kind of it goes with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where uh, she she goes she skates through his mind at one point to get to where she needs to go, because the space through time is easier to get through to make deliveries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I've never really watched that movie. I've only watched like the first
Oh,
act, and then I kind of get bored. I know it's a great movie. But...
before the movie came out, I had already read all the actual graphic novels for that.
Oh, okay.
Only eight graphic, no, six graphic novels,
Oh, okay. So like, okay,
and
final.
it's a little different in the movie too.
Oh, okay. All right. So final assessment. What are these things good, bad? What are these things? Are you sticking with it's an interdimensional thing?
My final thoughts is I'm sticking with the interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say more going towards cautious. I don't think they're all bad, but I don't think they're all good either.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, that's
There's still more that needs to be explained.
yeah,
More sightings, more.
yeah. So final question: are these things real?
Hmm. That one is the hard one.
Mm-hmm.
My mind, I personally would say I would go only because I like the idea of other beings. So I will probably more so lean towards being real,
Mm.
since I think they're different dimensional. They might not be real in our universe, but they're real somewhere else.
Mm. But they show up here.
Yes.
Yes, and sometimes people see them. Sometimes they get scared, run off, and sometimes they approach them. So yeah, so that's the Stickman phenomena for us. That's pretty interesting stuff. Let's see what else happens in terms of this because it's still fairly new.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely got to see where this will go in the future if it keeps up.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's today's episode. We'll talk to you guys next week. I've been Nathaniel Avila. And
I'm Hanyu.
yes, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.
Also,
Yeah.
leave your comments in there about what you think it is.
Yeah, do that. Is it an alien? Is it some kind of undiscovered cryptid? Is it interdimensional? And so we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of wacky talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.